separate but equal. For over 60 years, separate but equal was an excuse used to keep Americans of non-European backgrounds and Caucasian Americans away from each other. But that all changed in the year 1954. This was when a new generation of African American parents stood up for themselves, wanting change. Change for them was a better life, a better standard of living for themselves and their children. In the small town of Topeka, Kansas, a group of parents got together to face their Board of Education. They wanted to end the conflict of school segregation. This action changed lives, if not all Americans, because of the compromise the court came up with. But allow me to take you back to the beginning. It all started in 1828 when Thomas D. Rice created Jump Jim Crow, a song danced by Caucasian Americans in blackface, meaning they had their faces painted black to look like African Americans.
I want you to know that I'm a ragged but right, whole black and living like you people that's white. Porterhouse steak every day for my board. That's more than all you rounders in this town can afford. I'm a mighty good man to have hanging around. I'm tailor-made, I'm not a hand-me-down. I'm a eagle, I'm a mason, I'm a elk, I'm a knight. I'm ragged but right, you hear me talking? I'm ragged but right.
This performance depicts African Americans as being poor and uneducated. This performance inspired Southerners to create Jim Crow laws after the Reconstruction era ended. Southerners did not want to accept colored people as their equals. So, when they heard that they could make these such laws, many were made. Many of them were the same, but slightly modified. Soon after, there were Jim Crow laws for everything, like nursing. No person or corporation shall require a white female nurse to nurse in wards, rooms, or hospitals, either public or private, where Negro men are placed, which was a law in Alabama. Crazy, right? But the important law that was in place for school was the County Board of Education shall provide a school of two kinds, those for white children and those for colored children. The laws were mainly in all of Southern area, including Kansas. This law made life harder for colored children. They had to walk many more distances to reach school, since Southerners didn't want to give up some of the schools they already had. So new schools had to be made, but many more blocks away from the town where mostly everybody lives. And also, at the time, these southern states didn't have the rights or the sufficient amounts of funding to build these schools. So they weren't built to the best of their potential. This made life especially hard for Linda Brown, a 10-year-old girl who was forced to walk 1 mile to school and 1 mile back every day. Many colored Americans shared the same or worse fate as Linda. It was especially hard for her during the winter time. So her parents tried to solve this problem by registering her in a closer school called Summer Elementary. This school was only 7 blocks away from Linda's home, but it was an all Caucasian school, and they didn't want to make an exception for her. This made a lot of parents furious about the reaction they received from the schools. because Linda wasn't the only child trying to get into a school for the same reasons. So parents came to the conclusion that the only way that they were going to get their child in this school was to get the government on their side. So they decided to go to court, but the parents first had no idea this was happening all around them. So there was initially 5 cases on the same thing. They all were going to go in court against the Board of Education, which was in Topeka, Kansas. But they started off with getting a petition from their neighbors to make a case. But they all knew they were going to get denied. So the parents decided to come together to form one strong case because they noticed that they weren't getting anywhere individually. They got Mr. Marshall to be the lawyer on their case. This was a monumental moment in time. Change was coming. This was big news. So the topic of Brown versus the Board of Education was everywhere, including newspapers. The court process was very long and hard, especially since the remarks used by the defending case, the Board of Education, was that separate but equal was fair. Change was unnecessary. The parents felt irritated because essentially they were saying that there's nothing wrong with their child walking 15 minutes to reach the school. But the court understood the parents' frustration with the term separate but equal when it's not really equal. So the verdict was on the parents' side. Schools became integrated, which abolished the term separate but equal. This allowed non-European Americans to choose the school they wanted to attend. This case affected the way children received their education as a whole unit. Not just one group got advanced. Together, they were advanced. Like the way computers were introduced into school. Without integrated schools, only Caucasians would receive it. And it would take many more years for other schools to get them. Like how books were introduced. The non-European schools got the hand-me-downs, while the brand new books were given to the Caucasian Americans. This also impacts the way a person can live their life, because now they really have the chance to be anything they want. Equality is something that people have started to strive for more. Ever since the case, more people are encouraged to stand up for themselves, like equal pay between males or females, or same-gender marriage. People aren't afraid of fighting for justice now. So remember, Brown versus the Board of Education. The end. Thank you for your time.